What is up, guys, and welcome back to the third episode of F1 2017 Career Mode. This is the Russian Grand Prix, and you join us a little later on in the weekend than what I would have liked. Unfortunately, I pressed record on my recording, but yeah, it didn't register on the computer, so we've missed out on the first two practice sessions. I basically went through all of the practice programs and got a perfect score for pretty much all of those, and somehow we have 285 resource points out of an available 275. So I don't know how we've hacked that, but hey, I'll take it. More resource points for us. We definitely need them after the abysmal round we had at Bahrain. But here we are in Russia. Again, we're going out for some more data to collect for our race strategy, doing multiple tyre compounds. But that's practice. Time for quali.
Welcome F1 fans, where qualifying will be starting in the next few minutes as the teams prepare to get out on track at the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia.
It won't be easy getting out of this qualifying session, but see what you can do.
Okay, so we have a pretty average track out there in Russia. It's light rain, and it's scheduled to ease up in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So if we can somehow make it through Q1, then somewhere in Q2 we might be seeing some dry tyres. So I'm going to give it everything in this session and see what I can do. I'm going to do my best by just doing as many laps as possible at the start of Q1 and just getting my eye in. And you never know, sometimes changeable conditions can bring slower cars into the mix, and that's what I'm hopefully going to make the most of in this qualifying session. But it turns out it's going to be raining for the race as well, so I adjusted my setup accordingly. Brought the wings up from 5.5 to 7.7. Helps you know, press the car into the ground a bit more and generates a bit more tyre heat. And yeah, that was our first couple of laps done.
No rain expected. No rain expected for the time being.
So in terms of the weather, it looks like right now it has pretty much stopped, and we might be possibly even seeing dry tyres at the end of this session. We'll have to wait and see. It does look very, very dry at this stage. And yeah, after I got that confirmation from the engineer, I basically took the next flying lap as pretty much my best intermediate run that I was going to get. I feel like in the next 2 or 3 minutes, the track will be too dry and these tyres won't be working anymore. So I'm going to try and do the best job I can at the moment. Sitting in P12, so if it stays as it is right now, even with the improvement we'll get, that'll easily get us through to qualifying 2, and that would be an amazing result for our career mode. We haven't got out of Q1 yet, so that would be an ideal way to start the episode. But through the final corner, we improved to 11th place. Alonso is in the top 10 as well, so both the McLaren Hondas coming strong when the intermediate conditions come out to play. But we return to the garage. I think there's only 3 minutes to go, and unfortunately still too early for dry tyres, so we're going to have to go back out again on the intermediate tyres. Unfortunately, I just took like literally 2 seconds too long to get around and start my final qualifying lap, but we end up in 20th place. You're joking. All those laps in qualifying had just gone down the drain because everyone else improved after I personally feel like the track was past its best. I don't know how the AI improved. I personally felt like the track was just about too dry when I set my PB at the end of the session there, but there we go. Last place for the Russian Grand Prix, and since we're starting last, we're going to change the engine out. We're going to jump in our 6th power unit, because why not? We're starting last anyway, and any kind of grid drop we get from these engine changes won't affect us anyway. So while we're at it, we're going to change the gearbox as well, because again, we're not going to get penalised for it. We're going to take the 5th gearbox of the season, technically our 2nd. That's just how the rules work on this game. We're going to make the most of it, and yeah, I'll join you guys for the race.
Although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. And Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, Jeff here. Can you hear me? We're not starting where we hoped, so you need to be aggressive today and push your way through the field.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Here we are on the grid of the Russian Grand Prix. As you can see, we've got a very tricky race ahead of us. Heavy rain, and then it's going to ease off gradually until we get dry conditions right at the end of the Grand Prix. So this con could be quite interesting. I really hope that our pace in the rain is a lot better than our dry pace. At least I felt a bit more competitive in qualifying, that's for sure. So who knows, anything's possible in these wet kind of races. The AI can sometimes be slower than what they are in the dry, and also there's always the potential for crashes and you know, opportunities to be made up in terms of strategy, changing onto the right compounded tyre at the right time. There's a lot of opportunity to be made in conditions like this in a car that is not quite at its best. So let's see how we go. Ready for the start of the Russian Grand Prix. The transition from the formation lap to the race just goes by like an absolute flash, but away we go. And, you know, pretty average start, it must be said. Alonso got off to an absolute flyer, and he's already putting Magnussen and Wehrlein under pressure as they go through turn 1. I can't even see them. The spray is that bad. So we're just going to go to the inside, try and spot our own braking points nice and cleanly. Everyone braking really early as they head into turn 1. I don't blame them, to be honest, because they were all kind of unsighted as to where everything was. They were all in spray, whereas I was, you know, fairly clear in my own line up the inside. But either way, round the outside of Marcus Ericsson, and we move up into 16th place. So not a bad start so far, considering we were last and pretty much nowhere near anyone after we launched off the line. Halfway through lap 1 now, and we're kind of going for a move on Jolyon Palmer. He goes very slowly through there, so we capitalise up the inside, and that is P15 for the taking. So, as you can see in these early phases of the Grand Prix, we look very, I don't know, comfortable. We look like we're actually moving forward. Not on the straights though, as Jolyon gets back up my inside, does he? Doesn't quite get me under brake, so we are last of the late breakers there. So, yeah, the early phases, it actually looks really good. We're actually closing up to the cars ahead and not getting overtaken all too much. Almost lost everything there as we head into the penultimate corner. We carry on to lap number 3 now, and yeah, like I said, we're catching up to the next group of cars that extends pretty much all the way into the top 10. Everyone being very cautious. Safety car has been deployed as well. So what has caused this? I think it might have been one of the Saubers. I believe it was Pascal Wehrlein. I think I heard something over the radio, but I didn't manage to catch that in the video there. But safety car's been deployed. We're not going to come into the pits. We're still in the wet tyres, and they're only like at 3% tyre wear, so absolutely no point to dive into the pits at this stage. You'd only really be throwing away track position at this point because the tyres are only at like 3% tyre wear, so absolutely no point. We're going to wait until the conditions change before we change our own tyres, so we'll see how that goes. But safety car restart now. The leaders are going really slowly through there, especially the Mercedes. I think it was Sebastian Vettel had to pretty much go around the outside of the corner just to make sure he didn't run into the back of him. But restart of this race is underway now in lap 6, and now we can continue the march forward that we showed in the opening couple of laps. Now, Grosjean's up next. He's caught behind Carlos Sainz and the other Toro Rosso as well. Can we go for a move up the inside? Yes, we can. He's caught napping there. But the move's not quite done yet. We're going to try and hold it around the outside. Doesn't quite work out. Grosjean takes the lead back over the two of us. And he looks a bit slow heading into this right-hander, and we take full advantage into P14. Man, it's nice to actually move forward in these races for a change. Here he goes again around the outside. Just like I did when I overtook Palmer, Grosjean comes straight back at me on the straight, and, well, makes me look pretty silly for trying to set up that move for the last half a lap, which is pretty disappointing. Man, these upgrades really can't come soon enough, that's for sure. We really need that straight line speed to hold position.
To us. Would you like to keep to the current plan or try the new one?
We have a strategy change. Intermediate tyres. Let's have a look. Yes, it is intermediate tyres at the end of this lap. Now, we have to be a little bit cautious though, because we've been juked before by the engineer. Remember back to the first round in Australia, we got called in for intermediate tyres way too early, but since the AI are responding as well, we're coming in and we're going to take full advantage. We're following in pretty much most of the guys in the midfield here, and hopefully McLaren Honda, if you've got good pit crew, please, if you've got any like sense of good luck, give it to me now. We need to jump all of these guys. Fernando's actually in the pits as well, so double stack for McLaren. Intermediate tyres are on, and we go straight away. Yes, that's exactly the kind of pit stop we needed. That's the kind of pit stop that is going to get us inside the points for this Russian Grand Prix. I think we actually rejoined the track in a better position than when we came into the pits. That really doesn't happen that often, but hey, I'll take it. We're looking very good now in P9 as everyone fits on the intermediate tyres. That is not a good way to negotiate the final corner. But there we go. We've really attacked this race. We've really set ourselves up well. The team did their part, and now I've got to do mine. Holding on to the position that we've been given for the moment. 12 laps to go. And it must be said, the conditions so far really seem to be suiting the car. If you just watch my driving style here, we just continue to find improvements on our previous best. I was just stroking the car along very nicely, able to flow it really nicely out of corners, and was just getting really nice exits off of the crucial corners on the straights, and it really eased the pressure on myself when it came to defending against Daniel Kvyat. You'll notice I'm running in lean revs.
Okay, the weather's certainly eased off for the time being, but we've still got a lot of standing water out there. We're happy for you to stay out on the inters for now. Okay, distance to teammate, 18.6 seconds.
Cheers, Jeff. We'll be jumping on the dry tyres very, very soon, and a bunch of team radios coming in at the same time.
Right, some information on Grosjean. They have an issue with their car. They're going to be slow.
Okay, so Grosjean's running into issues. He was one of the cars that was directly behind us, but like I was going to say, I felt really pacey at this phase of the Grand Prix. I was actually able to maintain track position. I haven't lost any position to the cars behind ever since we fitted on the intermediate tyres, so I was actually really hoping that the conditions would stay like this for the rest of the Grand Prix, but unfortunately nothing lasts forever, and we're going to be coming in for dry tyres very, very soon. DRS has been enabled, so technically this is the time for dry tyres, but no one else responded, so I thought I'll stay out for another lap and then we'll pit on the next one just to be extra cautious, because you never know what the conditions might hold. We could have gone on to dries on the last lap and we would have been like 10 seconds a lap slower than everyone else. The conditions this year are much harder to read versus F1 2016, so I just didn't want to throw away the position that I had at the moment. I think if I was possibly outside the top 10, I might have gone for that move onto dry tyres a little bit earlier to be a bit more aggressive, but in this one we have a lot to lose, and I certainly don't want to lose it considering how slow the car is at the moment. But pit stop time onto the ultra soft tyres, and that is not a good pit stop. Look at this. I think it was at the time I thought that I was at fault for not launching. I thought I didn't do it smoothly, but we never got the green light until after Massa rejoined in the fast lane, so that was the fault of the team there, and yeah, we just couldn't rejoin in front of him. If I would have had the choice, I would have definitely risked the dangerous re-entry and just tried to get back out in front of him, but Sebastian Vettel is out of the Grand Prix. He was actually leading, and now he's handed the lead to Kimi Räikkönen, of all people, who is probably going to win this race as well now, and that's going to be 4 from 4 in this career mode series. That's absolutely outrageous. But last lap of the Grand Prix now, our pace on dry tyres is absolutely shot. It's nowhere near as good as what it was on the inters, and here comes Danny Kvyat round the outside into turn 1, and that is us back down into P9. So that opportunity that presented itself through Sebastian Vettel retiring went to nothing, but still we're going to come across the line and grab 2 more points.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So there we go, guys. 2 more points for the championship tally in this McLaren Honda career mode. We also got driver of the day, which was very, I don't know, it's a bonus, it's nice, but the real icing on the cake is always getting some world championship points in a backmarket car. Fernando Alonso came home in P14 as well. Pascal Wehrlein retiring very early in the Grand Prix as well. Sebastian Vettel retiring near the end from the lead of the race. He was going to break Kimi's little winning streak that he had going there. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, and even the Ferrari gets some bad luck this time. In terms of the driver's standings, Kimi leads by an absolute mile, 37 points back to Valtteri Bottas. The Flying Finns are doing absolutely amazingly. We've actually dropped a position as well. Daniel Kvyat overtook us in the driver's standings despite us actually finishing in the points ourselves. So that was a really costly position that we lost there in the dying stages. We're 8th in the constructors as well. We don't really care about the constructors too much. We're not going for the title. So as long as we don't finish in last place and, I don't know, somewhere, I don't know, mid-table in the constructors would be perfectly fine. But in terms of the resource points, we now have 888 of those. Because in the previous episode, we also upgraded one of the competencies for the engine. We made future upgrades cheaper. That now means that we can actually buy a engine upgrade in this episode, which we're going to do as well. In terms of the engine power units, we're going to be switching back to the original one, the one that has the most wear on it that we've done for the majority of this season so far, and that's because practice is coming up for the next round and we don't want to be using a fresh engine when the sessions don't really matter for too much. So there's the upgrade, 800 resource points to the powertrain, and that is in the direction of the fuel injection. So just an ever so slight upgrade in the engine performance, but every small bit counts. You never know, that might be the difference in us getting out of Q1 or, you know, holding onto a position over the course of a Grand Prix. Every small upgrade counts, and I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure I get the most out of every practice session, to get all the resource points I can, to make this car as quick as what I can, and get ourselves back to form and glory in this McLaren Honda. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more F1 2017 videos. I'm really enjoying this career mode series so far. The challenge is extraordinary and the support is even better than that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you next time.